The truth is still missing. Midnight Case Files.
One quiet summer night, an entire family went to sleep. By sunrise, every person inside the house was dead. More than a century later, investigators still can't say for certain who committed one of America's most haunting murders. Imagine living in a town where nobody locks their doors, where everyone knows everyone. And then, overnight, that sense of safety disappears forever. This is the story of the Villisca Axe Murders, a crime so disturbing that it's still debated more than 100 years later. It was June 9, 1912, in the small town of Villisca, Iowa. The Moore family had just returned home after spending the evening at church. Inside the house were parents Josiah and Sarah Moore, their 4 children, and 2 young sisters, Ina and Lena Stillinger, who had been invited to spend the night after a church event. 8 people, 1 home. None of them would ever wake up. Sometime after midnight, someone entered the house carrying an axe that belonged to the Moore family. One by one, every person inside was murdered while they slept. The killer didn't rush. Investigators later discovered something deeply unsettling. The murderer appeared to stay inside the home for quite some time after the killings. Curtains were pulled shut. Mirrors were covered with clothing. Food had been eaten in the kitchen, and the murder weapon had been carefully cleaned before being left behind. These weren't random actions. They suggested someone who felt strangely calm, almost comfortable, after committing one of the most horrific crimes in American history. When neighbors realized the Moore family wasn't awake that morning, they entered the home. What they found shocked the entire nation. Newspapers across America called it one of the most brutal family murders ever committed. Soon, investigators flooded the town, but instead of answers, they found confusion. Over the years, multiple suspects emerged. Some believed it was a traveling serial killer. Others blamed a local businessman. One suspect, Reverend George Kelly, even confessed, only to later claim the confession was forced. His story was inconsistent, the evidence was weak, and eventually he walked free. No murder weapon linked to a suspect, no fingerprints, no DNA, no surveillance cameras, just rumors, fear, and unanswered questions. To this day, no one has ever been convicted. Here's what makes this case different from many other unsolved murders. This wasn't simply a killer escaping justice. It completely shattered the illusion that small towns were automatically safe. The crime scene also suggests something investigators still discuss today. The behavior after the murders wasn't driven by panic. It looked organized, intentional, almost ritualistic. Whether those actions reflected psychological compulsion, an attempt to mislead investigators, or someone taking time to erase evidence, we'll probably never know. And that's exactly why the Villisca Axe Murders continue to fascinate true crime experts. The mystery isn't just about who committed the crime. It's about why someone would stay inside that house after everyone was already gone. Sometimes the most terrifying part of an unsolved case isn't the violence, it's the silence that follows. Over a century has passed, the house still stands, and the question remains exactly where it began. Who walked into that home that night and walked back out without ever being identified? Cases like this remind us that history still holds mysteries no investigation has completely solved. If you enjoy true crime, unsolved mysteries, and the darkest cases that continue to puzzle investigators, make sure to subscribe to Midnight Case Files, because the next mystery might be even darker than this one. Until next time, stay curious, and remember, sometimes the scariest stories are the ones that never get an ending.